Thank you. Welcome to Deane, and welcome to a conversation with Jacques Pépin. My name is Deane. We are just excited to have you. We've had this in the works for months, and it's actually here, and I got goosebumps. We are a third-generation kitchen design firm, cabinet custom throughout the house. We have a well-trained and seasoned, talented designers and engineers and field supervisors that work with our clients and their projects for good execution. So if you're interested, we have a great team here tonight. Raise your hand, team, everybody. So if you have any questions for them, please reach out. I'd like to also thank Elm Street Books, who made this happen, and Jacques' assistant, Kelsey. Where's Kelsey?
Kelsey,
thank you very much. You're a rock star. Has everybody enjoyed the food this evening?
Yes.
So good.
Good answer. Good answer. Did you hear that? Can you say that again?
Yes!
All right. So I am blessed to live with this lovely bride, Julia Deane, who runs Culinary Works.
Yes.
Culinary Works has been in business 20 years.
Woo!
And Julia runs a cooking school out of our showroom. So thank you for preparing the food. Obviously, it was inspired by your wonderful cookbook.
You ordered the chicken?
Yeah. And Julia not only knows how to cook, but she's an amazing moderator. So Julia, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Okay, fantastic.
Good. All right.
All right. Okay, well, I couldn't be more pleased and happy to be sitting in this position tonight, sharing a little moment with Jack, and get to obviously, hopefully, amuse all of you, and hopefully ask lots of questions that I think that you would like to know answers to. First of all, what a wonderful cookbook, and hopefully you guys have noticed the illustrations that were all done by Jacques, and he obviously has much larger illustrations, right? The real ones.
Well, I have an outside,
Yes.
More tiny, yes, sir.
Now, you sell them.
Did
you sell some of them?
A friend who sells them I've been painting for probably 65 years, and probably for 50 years I gave my painting away.
Right? No, you realize, wait a minute. All the people that have them are like,
A
woo.
friend of mine, Tom Hopkins, I've worked with him for 40 years. He's done many of my books, and we do now even the taping of those Facebook videos that we did. We did like 300 of those in the last couple of years.
Yeah.
So Tom at some point decided, he lives in Madison where I live too, and he said, I'm going to do an outside and sell your painting. I think I sell more painting now than cookbooks.
Right? Well, and the painting, all that money goes to your foundation, right? Or some portion of it.
Some of it is for me.
Yeah! Go job!
Some of it.
All right, some of it goes to the foundation. He has a wonderful foundation that if anyone is interested in contributing to, I'm sure that would all love that. So it's called the Jacques Pépin Foundation. So obviously you're a very highly esteemed career. A 13-year-old when you started your apprenticeship, right? He cooked for heads of state, 13 TV series, around 30 cookbooks, and you must have lost track by now.
32. I have one coming out in September. Right?
Okay, so maybe we'll have to come back. Okay, 32 cookbooks, correct me, I'm sorry. You were gifted the French Legion of Honor. Quite fancy. And probably so most notable among everything else is your Emmy Award series with Julia Child.
Yeah.
That's so cool. But I feel like the most important thing among all of that is all the while you make cooking seem very approachable. And I think that's not easy to do, to actually make somebody feel on the other side of the camera that, okay, I can do that. Like your approach makes it seem like people, could do it in their own kitchens. And I think that's, quite amazing. Anytime if I happen to be scrolling through TV and if it comes on, I'm like, oh, perfect. I just, turn it up a little bit. In fact, I think not too long ago we were sitting in the kitchen on a Saturday morning and it was on, right, Peter? Like CP, I think it was CPTV it was on. So, right, the CPTV. Yeah.
Whatever.
Okay, so we're gonna start our questions. Quiet the room. Thank you. Okay. So coming from a house of chefs and growing up in a house of chefs, so what was one of your favorite meals as a young child?
Well, to start with, I was introduced a couple of weeks ago somewhere I went, and the woman introduced me, said that man was chef to 3 French presidents, and the 3 of them are dead.
Well, you had the choice to cook in Kennedy's White House.
It was Kennedy in 1960.
Right, but then you chose to commandeer the food preparation, everything at Howard Johnson's.
I went to Howard Johnson.
Yeah.
So,
But wait, a childhood meal. We got to stay on track.
so yeah, meal, I don't know. I mean, a dish that I had when I was a kid.
Yeah, something that you remember that you liked.
Yeah, I mean the dish that you do for your kid are very, those tastes are very visceral. You know, they stay with you the rest of your life. Wherever you come in the world, whether you're West Africa or China or whatever, those dishes that waver, there is no place like the kitchen for a child coming out of school. You know, you sit in the kitchen, you hear the voice of your father, your mother, the cling of the equipment, the smell, the taste.
Mm-hmm.
Those tastes stay with you regardless of where you come in the world, you know, and they transcend the physiological function of food, which is to nourish you. They become home, they become family, they become love, they become,
Ingrained,
you know, and so it transcends at that level. And if you have a kid fighting in Afghanistan or somewhere too, and dreaming at night, they dream of the, you know, of the mother or grandfather or his father too. And as I say, at that point, the food transcends that level and becomes something else. It becomes home, it becomes family, it becomes all of this. So, you know, for me, one of the greatest meals that I can remember certainly is bread and butter. Hard to beat. If you have a fantastic piece of bread, you know, baguette and great butter.
Radishes ever? With radishes on top ever? Radishes.
Oh, radishes on top, of course.
Yeah, so of course radishes on top. That's a typical, I feel like, a French child's snack, is radishes with bread and butter, a little salt.
In France, you split the radish in half, put butter in the center, dip it in salt, and eat that with bread.
Right. Yeah, that's a great little treat. And radishes, do you have radishes in your garden?
Of course.
Yeah, by seed. You put them in by seed usually. They have to grow by seed. Yeah. Radishes are easy to plant. You can just use seeds. Okay, so you did have the opportunity to cook in the Kennedy White House, but you chose to really commandeer the revolution and the start of Howard Johnson's. And what was your decision there?
Because it's another world, you know. It was totally another world. I worked for the French president between 56 and 58, and when I was with de Gaulle, when I dealt with Madame de Gaulle and so forth, I served people like Eisenhower, Nehru, Tito, Macmillan, those were the head of state. Not anyone ever would call you to go into the dining room for kudo. Are you kidding? The cook was in the kitchen, like there. It was very, very low on the social scale. Television barely existed, but I was never interviewed on television, radio, newspaper, magazine. That did not exist. So it was totally another world. Any good mother would have wanted her child to marry a lawyer, you know, an architect, certainly not a cook. Now we are genius. I don't know.
Times have changed.
Yeah. So when I came to this country,
And how old were you?
I was 24.
Okay.
It was.
That's my kid's age.
I came here for a year, maybe 2 years. You know, I mean, most people who come to America come for economic reason to get a better life, or political reason, or racial reason, or gender reason, or whatever. I didn't have any of this. I had a great job in Paris, and I worked in the best restaurant there. My parents had a restaurant too. So I came here. I stayed for a year, 2 years, and you know, I'm here still. So,
something worked.
Yeah. So it was another world. So I worked at the Pavilion in New York, that's considered the greatest French restaurant in America when I came. And in the early 1960s, when Kennedy was running for president, I was asked to go to the White House. But at that time, Howard D. Johnson was a regular at the pavilion, and he hired Pierre Freinet, who was the executive chef, to come work for him, and Pierre asked me to come with him too. So what I'm saying is that I didn't realize the potential, the White House, I thought it didn't exist at that time. The cook was in the kitchen back and no one would have known. So I decided to go to Howard Johnson, and I had a friend of mine, René Verdun, who was a sous chef at the Essex House in New York, and I called him, he could eventually get the job. A year later, he sent me a picture with him, with Mrs. Kennedy and the President Kennedy. I still have his picture now. That was totally new. I mean, I never had a picture with De Gaulle or whoever president I was. It started changing. It was early 1960, women liberation, organic gardening, health food store. I mean, the things were changing in some ways. I asked, who was the chef before René Verdun at the White House? Well, it turned out to be, from what I was told, that it was a black lady from the South. No one would have known her name, no one that they knew my name or whatever. That's the way it was at the time. So I'm saying that to explain the decision that I did. And I was, as I say, in New York. I was here not too long, less than a year. And I was studying at Columbia University. I had friends too, so I didn't want to move again. And actually, I worked for Howard Johnson from 1960 to 1970. Howard Johnson, Howard D. Johnson, who created the company, he came to my wedding, came to the christening of my daughter Claudine too. He was a great guy. And
well, they were everywhere. There was one, I grew up in Delaware, there was one up the street, there was one here right on the Post Road. I mean, they were like, everybody probably here remembers Howard Johnson.
There was 1,200 restaurants.
Right, I mean, it was, yeah.
In 2000, Time magazine did an article about the 100 most important people of the 20th century, starting with Henry Ford, I guess, and finishing with Bill Gates. One of them was Ray Kroc, who created McDonald's, and I knew him personally a few times because I was with him at Howard Johnson, invited me with him and so forth. And I realized when I did that article, they asked me to do the article on Ray Kroc, that in the mid-60s when I worked at Howard Johnson, Kentucky Fried Chicken, Burger King, and McDonald's, the three of them together were smaller than Howard Johnson. We had 1,200 restaurants, 600 motels too. It was the company who served the most food in America after the American Army. So it was a big, big company. And when I left Howard Johnson, after 10 years, I opened a restaurant on Fifth Avenue called La Potagerie in New York. I did production of soup. Then I opened the World Trade Center with Joe Baum. We served 40,000 people a day. I set up the commissary. And I was a consultant at the Russian Tea Room. I'm saying all of that to say I would never have been able to do any of those jobs without the training of Howard Johnson. As a French chef, I did the production, marketing, chemistry of
And the
food.
masses, like
And
to
all
be
the
able
time,
to cook.
yes, it was another world. So Howard Johnson was, was very important. for me.
Yes, yeah, I think it's wonderful. That's where I came up with the recipe for the soup tonight. Was just the idea of something, that would feed a lot of people, be comforting and.
Well, from La Potagerie.
Yes, I mean, exactly. Exactly. That's one of the ones that was in the book.
Yeah,
And I was like, oh, I can do
See,
that.
that book, by the way, is not a cookbook. It's
You talk about the cookbook you have here.
Yeah, I did a cook, but I have many books, but I did a book in 2000, I believe, called The Apprentice. It was before Trump did the thing.
Good. Good for you.
Anyway, so that was a cook's memoir, story when I was a kid. And I have a show on some of you may have seen it, American Master, PBS, American Master. They did a show on me of an hour, and they really follow pretty much what I say in The Apprentice. That was a really good show. So I did that book in the same vein because they asked me to do. I wanted to do a book of my panning of chicken, and they said, "Great, fine." As soon as I started sending picture of panning, they said, "Can we have recipe with it?" I said, "No, I don't want to do recipe. I have 30 books of recipes." So finally, I did story about eggs, about chicken from when I was a kid. So there is some recipe which are.
It's a loose recipe, so
Which
you can
one?
follow it.
Yeah,
but-
it's
yeah.
it's a
It's a
narrative.
guideline.
It's a narrative recipe. So I say my
Yeah.
mother used to do this, and that. So you may follow it. Some of them you're not going to be able to follow it. In fact, the editor there, when I started, told me, well, I think I need more ingredient, a list of. I said, no, this is not that type of book. List of ingredient technique too. She said, well, I said, all right, fine. So I gave her a recipe from La Mère Roisier in Lyon. I come from Lyon in France. It's very well known for the formidable woman of Lyon, cook. You know, La Mère Roisier in the 40s at a 3-star restaurant, Michelin. You know, so
Wow.
in my family we had 12 restaurants around Lyon that I can. 12 of them run by women. I was the first male into that business. So in Lyon, it's very well known for pretty formidable, cooked women. So La Mère Roisier was a very famous restaurant, still there now, died many years ago. And her specialty was a chicken, la poulet Mère Roisier, the chicken you put a poulet de Bresse. Well, I'm talking about that. It's an area of France where I come from, very famous for the chicken. But she had the chicken with truffle put under the skin. She put that in a pig's bladder, which was inflated. And then 1 onion, 1 leek in it, very, very simple, pushed very slowly. So it's very simple, very sophisticated. Brought it to the dining room, inflated like this. And then they deflate it into dining room, take the chicken out, reduce the juice, serve with butter, and the chicken this way, very simple. So when she asked me for my ingredient, I said, okay, fine, chicken Mère Roisier, 1 pig's bladder.
I read that one. I was like, okay, I can't do that one. Nope, that was,
So
that
she
was
said, all right,
over
fine,
my,
okay, fine.
over my head. Well, I think the recipes in this book give you a guideline, and I think that's how you become a better cook, is to have some guides as opposed to, you know, being so fixated on exactly everything on the piece of paper in front of you, right? A little more play.
Yeah, more story back.
Right, yes, the book is, yes, it's more story. So anything about La Technique, your first book, that was anything so specific, or why it got such acclaim, or anything particular about that book that you want to talk about?
Yeah, well, La Technique wasn't really my first book. I did a couple before, but La Technique, I did, when I came here, I met Helen McCullough, the food editor of McCall, How Beautiful. She kind of became my surrogate mother too. She was never married, she was an older woman from Nova Scotia, and she said, don't do this, do this. Anyway, so she asked me to write for How Beautiful. And I started doing a series of techniques. I said, I want to show people how to do this. But those were like the side of a stamp in black and white, so there's no way you could see anything. But that was the beginning. So I decided to do that book. They asked me at the New York Times Book Company to do a book, and I did La Technique. So it was an illustration of technique, how to, and so forth. I didn't even have any recipe at the end, just showing the technique. And then it got extended. I did 1,500 pictures, and I did La Méthode, which was a continuation. Someone actually just brought me La Méthode tonight to sign. You did.
Right,
So
right.
it was the second volume of La Technique, and eventually that made it into The Art of Cooking, which we did 34,000 pictures with 2 volumes. You know, anyway, so those books are in print. I still have La Technique in print, because I really don't cook the way I cooked 50 years ago. That was published in 75, I believe. And I don't cook the same way. However, the way you sharpen a knife,
Right.
the way you poach an egg, the way you peel an asparagus, the way all of that remained the same. And that's why that book is still in print. I mean, I was the Dean of Study at the French Culinary Institute in New York for 30 years. And you know, some of the most famous chefs, from Bobby Flay to whoever in this country, the greatest, have all been at the French Culinary Institute. Not one of them at a French restaurant, but they learned the technique there, how to beat an egg properly, or this. So those techniques that I did, that technique too, are still valid.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so moving on. So, what is a quick whip up that you do at home? Like during the week, you got home late or something, you want a quick little meal. What's something that you would maybe put together on a whim?
I have no idea. I have to look whether I have to look what's in the refrigerator.
Yeah.
I have to look whether what I have in the garden. tomato. I have to look whether, it depends what I feel, whether I am in a good mood, whether I'm in a bad mood, whether I have a hangover. Yeah. But-
Okay, so speaking of hangovers, so red or white wine?
Either one. Free wine is the best.
Well, when I ordered the wine for tonight, I was like, okay, so I need a French white for sure. I knew that. Son's there, I know. I was like, I need a French white, and then I went with the right. I wanted to make sure that one. Okay, do you make Gaston? Gaston is his dog. What kind of dog is it? I know it's a.
Well, he's a pond, he's a poodle, but he thinks he's a Rottweiler. Actually, I was married 54 years, and we have 3 Rottweiler. One, and then the son of that, then another one, and we have a black lab, and then a golden, and we have a dog from Portugal. And at some point, after over 40 years, my wife said, okay, next one, small, no shedding, no shedding. So we started with
Easy
the poodle.
maintenance. So do you make him homemade dog food?
Yeah, I fed him before I left.
Right.
And he looked at me. He's
But does
very,
he
very
eat kibble, or do you make his food?
No, I made his food. I mean,
Yeah, you make his
yeah,
food.
but
Okay.
I cooked chicken. I mean, I gave him steak tonight that I had in the restaurant. I had some leftovers.
His leftovers, yeah, he had the
And,
leftover steak.
So, I mean, he's very fussy eater. And he looked at myself and he said, "You call yourself a chef?"
You're really in good company. I have a dog, his name is Dewey, and I make his food too. I don't really publicize it, but I make. Don't I make his homemade food, honey?
Yeah.
Peter, don't I make Dewey's food?
Yes, you do, honey. Makes kibble in the morning and homemade food.
Then she gets homemade food at night. Okay. So if you had a preference, gas or induction, like you know how they're trying to like take away gas, would you
Gas?
gas or induction to cook on?
I don't know. Gas. I don't
Yeah,
know.
only gas, right?
You know, I mean, there is something very visceral and powerful when you see the flame.
Yeah.
I mean, you know yourself. You go into the wood and you do a fire in the wood, and you do a hot dog or whatever on top of it, and there is nothing as good as it you ever had in your life, and the thing is half burned or whatever. But you know, there is that communion with a fire, and all that. And how do you go into the kitchen? Still, I mean, when I was an apprentice, you know, the stove was made. I mean, I remember as an apprentice filling up the stove with wood and coal and so forth. So
Wow.
the flame and all that were very important. From that on, you go down to gas. By the time you go to electricity, the flame have disappeared and induction. So I mean, there is a decrescendo for me too. I don't feel the same
Connection.
rapport with yeah.
Yeah, same rapport.
I mean,
I agree. So you have Claudine. She has children. So your grandkids. What do they call you?
Papi?
Peppy?
Yeah, my granddaughter. Yes, I've been teaching at Boston University for 36 years, 37 years. I was there 2 weeks ago, and I'm saying that because my granddaughter is there now. She started the first year.
Oh.
My daughter went to BU. At some point, I came, as I said, to this country in 1959. I went to Columbia University from 1959, English for foreign students, because I left school at 13, so I never went to high school. So I went to 1959 to 1973, where I was doing a PhD in literature, and I proposed a doctoral dissertation on history of food in context, civilization, literature, which at that time they said, "Are you crazy?" It's pretty anyway, so I moved on, and I ended up teaching at BU for all of those years. And actually, in the 80s, Julia Child and I created a program at BU. We created a Master of Liberal Art with a concentration in gastronomy. And that program is still on now. In fact, I'm getting the commencement address in the 1st of June there. So, and it's still kind of unique in this country. So it was quite different than the way things used to be. So when they asked me to teach at BU, Claudine, my daughter, is 56 or whatever now. So she was starting high school, I think, and So I ended up teaching that after a couple of years. I was going all over the country. I was traveling a lot, and university did not pay much at BU, and they said, well, we want to put you on the as an associate professor on the restaurant, but we want to make sure that you're coming every spring and fall. I said, well, I don't know whether I can do that. So my wife said, ask them about clothing. So I said, but if I'm a professor, does my daughter come for free? And she said, yes. All right, I'm on. So that's what I've been the whole of the
So she didn't
now,
have
my
much of a choice.
granddaughter is there now. But we're paying for it. But, but I'm happy that she's there. She loves Boston. She loves the school. So
That's awesome. So so kind of on the same lines with your family, they call you Pepe. What are some of the things that you cook for them? Like, what's a favorite meal that they might say, oh, Pepe, will you cook this for us? Or
yeah, it's true. That's interesting. As I say, we talk about those dishes which are very visceral. And my daughter Claudine, she will remember my mother's soup, just a leek soup with vermicelli, which is called pasta too, and this is the best, much better than mine or whatever. Then she'll remember my wife Gloria, spaghetti and pencil. This is the best too. On the other hand, she will ask me to do another thing. This is the best. So when you're a kid, those memories, those dishes that you have from your mother, my father did that too, certain you attribute that dishes to that person and all that, and that stay with you. So Claudine asked me, I forget what she asked me, she liked me the best, but many of the dishes you like it better from your mother or grandmother.
Nice. So where do you find your inspiration and your creativity? Like, do you go somewhere? Do you look on the computer? Do you look out? Do you go for walks? Do you, like, where do you find your inspiration to come up with new menus or new dishes or?
Creativity, now, the food is like a genius. Cook, so that's often exaggerated. We still, mashed potato maker. It's not a big deal. So people make too much of a deal. Certainly when I worked, I worked in Paris for over 10 years in the 50s and so forth. At that time, you work in a restaurant, it was to conform. You come to that restaurant to learn what they do there, and you do it exactly the same too. It wasn't you're not going to get inspired and create. Are you kidding? That didn't exist. I worked at the Plaza Athénée in Paris for 8 years, and you cut a tomato this way. Someone had turned it to cut it the other way. So, what would you do that? So I'm saying it's totally different now because now the chef quote famous, so the chef say, make sure that they know I did it. I created that dish too. That didn't exist at the time. You work in a restaurant to conform to the way it was done there, period. So at the Plaza Athénée in Paris, for example, we did a lobster soufflé, which was very famous. We were 48 chefs in the kitchen with a big plate. I think the 48 of us could have done that.
40?
48.
48 head chefs in the kitchen?
Yeah, that's how it was.
Okay, that's a lot, right.
So,
That's just confirming that I heard you correctly.
any one of us could have done that lobster souffle, you would never have known who has done it. So it was
The consistency.
a different, it was, yes, this way, it was the way it was done. And this is what I try to tell the young chef. You work somewhere, you want to work with, Daniel Boulou in New York or Thomas Keller, the great chef in this country. They are not waiting for you to tell them what to do. You have to go there and look at the food in the context of their mind, their sense of taste, their sense of aesthetic, and you have to duplicate it this way. Whether it coincides with your sense of taste or your sense of aesthetic is immaterial.
Right.
You do it the
Doesn't
way it is there to learn what they do, and you do that for a couple of years. And then you move to another chef for a couple of years, then another one for a couple of years. You do that for 8, 10 years. You absorb an enormous amount of point of view, different way of doing it. And at that point, then you do your own stuff. Then you now filter it through your sense of aesthetic, your sense of taste, and you do your own thing. But not before that, looking like 3 months you're 3 months in a thing and you want to create your own food and all that. You know, so it does take time. So that's the way. I mean, we cannot escape ourselves. You know, if I take you to the 5 greatest restaurants in New York or in America, or the 10 greatest too, I'm going to pick up this one are the greatest. Then I pick up 2 or 3, I said, those are really very good. And I pick up a couple, I said, they're good, but, you know, kind of, so you will pick up probably something totally different.
Right.
Because ultimately, it's a narcissistic reflection of who you are. I pick up those two because they coincide exactly with my sense of taste, my sense of aesthetic, so I pick those up. So, and you may pick up something totally different. So at some point, you cannot escape yourself. You are who you are, and that's what you like. And
Right, well, you told me you liked my pate wasn't cold enough. I thought it was pretty good, but he's like, well, I like my pate really cold. I was like, well.
That wasn't a criticism.
It's okay. I like to make fun of myself. Okay. Okay, what do you do in the morning? Do you drink coffee or tea?
I drink coffee too. I don't eat. I never eat in the morning, and I'm
So you're not a breakfast person?
Too big and too fat. So
Oh, stop.
That's about the only time of the day that I don't feel like eating. So I don't feel like eating. I never. In France, you know, I ate café au lait, a big thing of café au lait a couple of times, and that's it. So, yeah.
But what do you put in your coffee? Is it espresso or is it like drip coffee? Is it American or European?
Well, no, I have Kelsey. What is the machine you just bought me?
I got him into the Nespresso thing.
Yeah. Because I had that big
Before that,
machine.
he
I
had a
had.
Jura, which cost like God knows how much, and that thing kept breaking. Finally, I didn't have time to sit on the line with customer service, and I was like, Jacques, I have an espresso and it's great, and I'm gonna get you one.
Well, I had a machine called Jura machine from Switzerland. It's like $5,000, a big machine. We had that for 20 years with my wife, and it broke down, you know, a while ago. So now she got me that big machine.
So it's espresso, European coffee. Yeah. But you're not having Dunkin' Donuts. You're not going to Dunkin' Donuts.
If you bring it, I'll eat it. But,
Right. Okay. Okay. So what kind of music do you listen to?
oh, well, from Ella Fitzgerald to Nat King Cole, jazz to I like classical music, so you know, from Chopin to whoever and modern jazz, Take 5. So yeah, that type.
Yeah. And if you're cooking at home, do you put on music or is it?
Yeah, no, I like music.
Yeah, you put it on while you're cooking.
Right,
Yeah. Okay. And what do you think? Like some tips for you know all these people that cook at home. You know, what are some things that some tips that you can give them? You know, to kind of navigate through the kitchen better or to feel more confident in cooking, you know, what are some just kind of basic tips that you think?
Okay, well, no question. Drink a lot of wine.
I know. Mary, where's Mary? Mary, we need some more Sancerre. We need some more Sancerre, Mary. Okay, she's gonna bring. So yeah, she's gonna. Okay, so so what about like and obviously your tools. So obviously knives. I find like stainless steel bowls and aluminum sheet pans are important. But any other kitchen tools that you feel like people should have? Okay, here you go.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know, a sharp knife. Thank you. Sharp knife is really important.
Sharp knife,
Warren asked me what is the best knife? It's the sharp knife.
Yes.
Question about it.
Well, the chef's
You know,
knife, though.
the knife, yes.
The chef's
And,
knife.
you know, very simple, a few things, but of the good quality, you know, that you, yes, sharp knives are very important. A couple of times here, there, depending what you do. I mean, you know, now I do those shows for Facebook, which is to show people what you do if you have that leftover in your refrigerator to cook for 2, for 3, whatever, which is different than I mean, the best book, probably the best book that I've done called The Art of Cooking, in the mid-'80s, and we did 34,000 pictures with Tom Hopkins, and we did it in 5 years. And I went in my pond at home to catch some frog, show you how to take the skin out of frog too, and all that too, and then saute. Now you don't have to do it. You can start at picture 5 or 6 where the frogs are clean and the finish. You know, I went to Long Island Sound to fish to get a skate. I wanted to show you to take the wing out of skate, and you can only buy the wing. You cannot buy the whole skate. So I wanted to show you that.
How to deconstruct it.
I bought a whole baby lamb and this and. So you know, I did that from the beginning. We did 34,000 pictures, and we did 2 volumes of that, about 1,500 pictures of each too. Probably the best book that I've done. Probably the book who sold the least of anything that I've done also. So everything is kind of relative, but what was your question?
I'm not sure. No. Oh, I was saying, what are some tips?
Yeah.
Some tips for all these people here who are going to go home and they're going to cook and they're going to say, Jacques told me to do this. So I'm going to remember to do this when I'm cooking.
A good knife, a big
knife.
cutting
A
board.
big cutting. Yes, that is one thing I find.
A
Some people
study
don't have big
table
enough.
too, so that when you bang something, it doesn't shake all of
Right.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah, and a couple of good, thick, heavy pan and
Yeah.
all that. You know,
Heavy bottom pans.
it doesn't have to be complicated. But
I agree.
A couple of good quality stuff change your cooking. You know, so
And do you always use unsalted butter or do you ever use salted?
no, I rarely use salted butter. I mean, if you go to the supermarket, it's a bit different now. We use not to have any of the great butter we have now. I mean, years ago you didn't. But you would buy salted butter, you would buy unsalted butter, it would be frozen usually. Salted butter was not. Why? Because the salt preserves it. It can be there for 2 months. Maybe rancid, but you don't know it because it's salt in it. Salted butter will get yellow and smell, so they freeze it. So,
Right.
so no, unsalted butter usually I would buy the quality and you know, as I said, there is a lot of good butter now that we
Yes.
didn't have,
Right.
you know, years ago. I mean, I came to
Yeah.
America in 1959, and I went to the supermarket I live on 50th and First Avenue, between First and Second Avenue, middle of Manhattan. So there was a supermarket. First time I went to a supermarket, I said, that's a great idea. So I was going to the fish guy, the vegetable guy, the meat guy, everything under the same roof. Great, except everything was packaged. You know, underneath there was great meat, like that I wouldn't have in France, like selling rib roast and stuff, and lobster and rack of lamb too. But there was one salad, it was iceberg, that's it. You know, so
Oh, yes.
there was no leek.
Lettuce has changed.
There was no leek, there was no vegetable, there was no oil-type vegetable. There was, I said, where are the mushrooms? I had 5, that was canned mushroom, that's it. So it was totally different than what it would be today, you know, so.
Okay, so we're gonna go to Q&A, but I just have one, I forgot, I wanted to ask one more thing. What is your favorite season of food to cook?
Season of food.
Like if you could cook fall, spring, summer, or winter?
Usually, it changes, but I like the fall. I mean, I like the fall in France because all the wild mushroom, there was a
Sense.
game. In France, when I was a kid, there was a game at the time in the fall, wild mushroom and all that. That was a great time, but we don't really have that here. So I would say here the summer, you know, so.
Summer.
Because I have my garden, I have stuff.
And chickens.
Yeah, chickens.
Okay, so we'd like to turn it over to some questions. Yes.
Just a quickie, what's your favorite recipe for roast chicken? Just off the top.
Roast chicken, well, I do salt and pepper, you know, the chicken, good quality chicken. I start in a skillet on the side. No, first, between the drumstick and the thigh, I cut here and I cut here, like 1 inch deep, because that's where it stays red a little bit, and I cook faster, so you don't have to overcook the breast for that. So I cook it on the side.
And you cut it, is it at the joint that you're cutting
At
that?
the joint, about
the joint.
that much deep,
Okay.
half an inch deep, so the heat get. And cook on the other side 20 minutes On the other side, 20 minutes, and then I put it into the oven, another 20 minutes, basting it. And so it goes into the oven, one side 20 minutes, one side 20 minutes. So basting it too. And don't cover it when it comes out. People cover it and it's steam and it tastes reheated. You know, it doesn't taste
And then the skin
right
gets.
way. And you want to cook it in a
Keep the skin.
thick, heavy pan, so a beautiful crystallization of the juice in the bottom. If you cook it in a thin stainless steel pan, the heat goes through, there is no heat transfer, and you have black spot, and those crystallized juice are burned. So you deglaze them with water or stock or wine. Well, they taste bitter because it's burnt juice. So you have to have a thick, heavy pan to cook them and use those crystallized juice to make
The broth, the
that's
gravy.
what juice. Yeah. But
So heavy bottom pan again,
yeah.
same kind of concept.
But I show, that being said, I have many books, and I say one of them called A Grandfather's Lesson. My granddaughter, I show them how to cook. I say, okay, let's go to the market. I go to the market, I buy a chicken from the rotisserie chicken. I say, see, this one looks good too, so it's all cooked. We go home, and I cut it into pieces. I love Boston lettuce. Put Boston lettuce, mix on top. I put a skillet. We put some olive oil, some garlic, some onion. I saute it to the juice of the chicken there. We put it right on top of it too.
Yeah.
We mix it in top with the lettuce, and we serve that too. And it's fine.
So there's a quick whip up.
Chicken.
Recapping where we were, that was a quick whip up. That was an American whip up, yes.
What would be your favorite dessert?
Oh, dessert.
That's all right, man.
Your favorite dessert?
Cheese, probably. No, I mean, I like, you know, no, I like a caramel, you know, caramel custard or crème brûlée, something like that, or an apple tart. I mean, my mother used to do, and I do apple tart or something simple like that. But very often at home, you know, I'll have a fruit or a piece of cheese or whatever. So usually not that much dessert, you know, except so
Why?
we do the same menu, then all of a sudden you have guests coming, then I extend the menu by doing a dessert and all that to make it more sophisticated. But it's not really something that I eat every day. So,
Yes. Right here.
You said you had a bunch of favorite restaurants. What is your number one pick and what would you order?
my number one pick where?
Restaurant.
What restaurant, your favorite restaurant,
My favorite restaurant
and what would you order?
is at home. All right, so whatever I provided. So that's good.
Do you have plans Friday? Do you have plans tomorrow?
Yeah, I had a very good meal last night at a new restaurant called Eau Toulouse. I never had it in Brantford. And it's a guy who used to be a chef at the Union League Cafe, and he opened there, and it was very good. So we had lamb shank and all that was really nice, and I had a celery root salad, which was very good too. I mean, it's very easy to go, and I can tell you 15 things wrong in any place that you go, but I mean, that doesn't really help. So no, that was very good. But usually, you know, I like a restaurant where to quote James Beard, they said the best restaurant in the world is where they know you. And it's true. You know, they know
Right.
you, they know you.
Yeah, that's
Which
good.
they give you a glass of wine too. Yeah, that's true.
An extra, little extra.
Yeah.
The country club pour it's called. Okay, yes.
We all know the profound influence you had on Julia Child,
Yeah.
and I would love to know more about your relationship with her and how, really.
Oh, I slept with her for me. So I met her in 1960. I was here a few months, and through Helen McCullough again, the food editor, she said, "Oh, look at that! I got a manuscript here for a book. Can you look at it?" I look at it while mastering the French cooking, and I said, "That's really good." So she said, "Well, the woman is in Boston. She's coming next week. You want to cook for her?" I said, "Sure." And she's a very tall woman. She had a terrible voice. Julia came, and I spoke French with her. French was better than my English at the time. I just came here not that long ago, so we became friends.
Yeah.
We stayed friends for half a century.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we did many shows together. We cooked.
Emmy award-winning show.
We cook at. We gave class at Boston University together. We did. You know, your husband very well and her family. So yeah, she was a good friend. So that being said, we drank a lot of wine and now.
Well, she always did, right, too?
We all do a lot together. Right, too, yeah. So, yeah. She was a good friend.
Yes.
What three things are always in your refrigerator?
My refrigerator? Well, well, probably onion, salad, butter, whatever, but I always have a beer in my refrigerator also. But usually I have a kind of truffle next to the beer. So when people say, do you have any beer? I say, yes, next to the truffle. That sounds very snobbish, you know.
Is it the same can that's been there for a while?
Right.
Right. That's a good one. Yes.
So what's your favorite produce that you grow in your garden?
Oh, in the garden?
Yes.
You know, I tell you, like now I already, people already mention on Facebook that I do those shows, that I use salmon chive. Well, the chive started 2 weeks ago.
Yes.
Salmon chive, so I use chive. Yeah, I chive parsley, so I have 4 or 5 different types of herbs that I do. But otherwise, yes, certainly in the summer, a tomato for me out of the garden, just at the right temperature, ripe, is a great thing out of the, out of the garden. You know, so yeah.
When you play pétanque?
I'm sorry?
When you play pétanque?
Yes. Pétanque is a French game similar to bocce ball.
Yes.
You know, which
But
is,
it's silver, right? The
but,
little,
it's a smaller ball too.
Yeah.
It's much better.
Do you
anyway.
win money or lose money?
Do
Do
you
you
win or
win money or lose money?
Oh, we don't talk for money, we talk for wine. No, we do, and actually in September, no, in November, first week of November, I think, or the second week of November this year, I'm not sure, no, first week, I think. I'll be in Amelia Island, next to Jacksonville, Florida. There is 250 team of pétanque player coming from France. I mean, from France, from New Zealand, from China, from Mexico, from all over the world. You know, this is probably the biggest competition of pétanque too. No one knew about it, so we go there every year when we play pétanque there. But we have a group at my house, and in fact today is what, Saturday we have a big game. Like, we have about 50 people game that we have about 8 of us have a bull court, and so we have 8 of us as activities. I mean, my party is on the 27th of May, I think, this year. So we have 50 people playing there and having dinner. So we do a big dinner too. It's a big thing. Usually in those parties we drink between 75, 85 bottles of wine. But you know, it's like other 50 people, and it's like 2 o'clock in the afternoon, 10 o'clock at night. So I mean, you know,
That's
Yes.
my kind of pétanque.
Yes.
so that's it out here.
So speaking of the art of chicken, science these days has made chickens much bigger. How has that affected the taste in your opinion? An American chicken versus like a European chicken?
Yes, but you know, the chicken that I'm talking about, what I was born with, poulet de Bresse, talking about la mère Brasier, one of the greatest chicken certainly in the world. Interestingly enough, if you gave, which I've done, if you gave that type of chicken to someone, to a kid, particularly kids, you know, which they look at that chicken, they say, well, first, the meat is tougher, it's attached to the bone, you have to pull out, it has more taste to this, ooh, that thing is strong too. Everything is relative. They're used to a supermarket chicken which doesn't have that much taste and all that, you're used to that, so you compare what you taste to this, and people may be a bit more discriminatory, but the best people is really the kid. To ask the kid said, that's disgusting. Kids will tell you exactly what they think. If you use a condition to that chicken in the supermarket, mild and all that, say, yeah, that's what you think is the best. You know? So everything is relative this way. You create taste in different ways.
All right, one more question? Yes.
Do you leave your butter out on the counter or refrigerator?
See, that. I mean, I was interviewed by, I think it was the Wall Street Journal or whatever. I mean, about whether I like my butter soft or hard, which is one of the stupid things for a magazine that you have to do a big article. But anyway, so it depends what I do. I mean, I have people coming and I'm going to do some canapé too, so I leave the butter out for an hour so I can spread out the butter on this. So it depends what I do. It doesn't really matter. I mean, even if the butter is cold, I go with a knife very thin, or even with a
On the
vegetable,
top, across the top, right?
with a vegetable peeler, to cut the top to the
Right,
thin
yeah.
stick to put on top. Yeah, down on top. Yeah.
Yeah. So how about a big round of applause?
I'll drink with it. And this is my boss, so you better watch it. So Kelsey
Yes.
speaks French as well as I do. Her father was the president of the Disney,
Vice President.
vice president of the Disney World in Paris. So she was right there when she was a kid. So.
And then I met Jacques at RJ Julia in Madison when we moved there for my husband's job, and I was like, it's really nice here, what am I supposed to do?
Then in addition to that, she got very good, and she had a bakery in New York making bread, so in the bread. And then after she got a job as an editor in the publishing house of books. So it's exactly what I do, publishing of books, cooking and all that. So
Speaks French.
I should speak French.
Perfect.
It all
Good
worked out.
match.
But if there's anyone that did not get their book signed, we would love.
Yes, so.
Yes, please. Thank you all for coming. Jacques, thank you for spending time with us tonight. Thank you all for coming. There's plenty of food left in line.
Thank you.